I found my own missing person poster in my guardian's closet. The missing person poster stared back at me with my own 8-year-old face. I dropped the stack of winter coats I'd been organizing, my hands shaking as I picked up the crumpled flyer from the bottom of Aunt Carol's closet. The little girl in the photo had my same dark curls, my same gap-toothed smile, but she was wearing a yellow sundress I'd never seen before. Above the picture, bold black letters spelled out missing, and below it, a name that made my stomach lurch: Maya Chen, age 8, last seen June 15, 2015. Today was March 3, 2024. I was 17 now. And according to this poster, I'd been missing for almost 9 years. My legs gave out and I sank onto the closet floor, surrounded by the smell of mothballs and Carol's lavender perfume. The paper trembled in my grip as I read the details that should have been familiar but felt like looking into an alternate universe. Maya was last seen playing in Riverside Park in Portland, Oregon. She was wearing a yellow sundress with white flowers and light-up sneakers. Maya loves art, singing, and her stuffed elephant named Peanut. If you have any information, please contact Portland Police Department or call 503-823-3333. Her parents, David and Lynn Chen, are desperate for her safe return. Peanut. I remembered Peanut. The realization hit me like ice water. I'd had a gray stuffed elephant when I first came to live with Carol. I'd been so attached to it, but Carol said it was dirty and unsanitary from my previous situation. She'd thrown it away while I was at school, telling me it was time to leave the past behind and focus on healing. Carol had always told me I was rescued from an abusive home. That my biological parents were drug addicts who'd neglected me, and that she'd stepped in to save me when child services finally intervened. She said my memories were trauma responses, and that forgetting was a blessing. But this poster told a different story. A story about parents who'd loved me enough to plaster my face on every surface they could find. Parents who'd given me a stuffed elephant named Peanut and dressed me in yellow sundresses and taken me to parks to play. I heard Carol's key turning in the front door downstairs, followed by her voice calling out, "Maya, honey, I'm home. The church potluck committee donated another $500 for your college fund. Isn't that wonderful? The college fund. The sympathy meals. The special collection plates at St. Matthew's for poor orphaned Maya." The way Carol's eyes would well up whenever she told people about taking in her damaged niece and nursing me back to health with patience and love. It had all been a lie. I shoved the poster into my backpack and quickly hung up the coats, my heart hammering so hard I was sure Carol would hear it from downstairs. When I emerged from her bedroom, she was in the kitchen unpacking groceries, her graying hair pulled back in its usual neat bun. "There you are," she said, smiling that same warm smile that had comforted me through nightmares and scraped knees for 9 years. "Mrs. Henderson specifically asked about you today. She's so proud of how well you're doing in school despite everything you've been through." I managed to smile back, even as nausea rolled through me. "That's nice of her. It really is. You're so lucky to have such a supportive community, Maya. Not every child who's been through trauma gets a second chance like this." Lucky. Right. That night, I waited until Carol's bedroom light went off before pulling out my laptop. My hands were still shaking as I typed Maya Chen missing Portland 2015 into the search bar. The results made my chest tight. Dozens of articles, Facebook posts, and news segments about the search for Maya Chen, for me. There I was on Channel 8 News, my photo next to a tearful woman with the same dark hair and eyes. The headline read, "Parents never give up hope after daughter vanishes from park." I clicked on a video dated July 2015, just 1 month after I'd supposedly gone missing. The reporter stood outside a modest blue house with a well-tended garden, speaking to a couple I didn't recognize but somehow felt like I should. "David and Lynn Chen have organized their 15th search party this month," the reporter said. "They refuse to believe their 8-year-old daughter Maya is gone forever." The man, David, my father, looked exhausted but determined. "Maya's out there somewhere. We know she is. She's smart and brave, and we're going to keep looking until we bring her home." The woman beside him, Lynn, my mother, held a purple flyer with my face on it. "If whoever has our daughter is watching this, please, she belongs with us. We love her so much. Maya, if you can hear this, Mama and Daddy are coming for you. We'll never stop looking." I slammed the laptop shut and pressed my hands to my mouth to keep from sobbing. These weren't drug addicts or abusers. These were parents who'd loved me, who'd been searching for me, who'd never given up. I forced myself to open the laptop again and kept digging. The articles painted a clear timeline. Maya Chen disappeared from Riverside Park on June 15, 2015, while playing near the playground. Security cameras had malfunctioned that day. No witnesses saw what happened. The last confirmed sighting was Maya feeding ducks by the pond at 2:47 p.m. But I remembered that day differently. Not clearly, I'd been so young, but I remembered Carol picking me up somewhere and telling me we were going on a special trip. She'd said my parents had asked her to take care of me for a while because they were sick. I remembered crying for my mom and dad, and Carol giving me cherry-flavored medicine that made me sleep. "You're safe now," she'd whispered. "Aunt Carol is going to take such good care of you." I kept scrolling and found something that made my blood freeze. A GoFundMe page created by Carol Winters in August 2015 helped me care for my rescued niece. Asterisk, my heart broke when child services called me about my niece Maya. After years of neglect and abuse, this precious 8-year-old needed a safe home immediately. As a single woman on a teacher's salary, I'm struggling to provide everything Maya needs: therapy, clothes, medical care, and a stable home. Any donation helps as I work to give this traumatized little girl the life she deserves. Maya is slowly learning to trust again, and with your support, I know she can heal. Asterisk. The page had raised $23,847. I scrolled through the updates Carol had posted over the years. Photos of me at Christmas, starting school, learning to ride a bike, all accompanied by her commentary about my progress and healing journey. Dozens of comments from supporters praising Carol's sacrifice and generosity. The most recent update was from last month. Asterisk, Maya is now 17 and thriving. She's been accepted to 3 colleges. Thanks to your continued support, I've saved $18,000 for her education. This community's love has made all the difference in helping Maya overcome her traumatic past. Asterisk. $18,000. She'd been collecting money in my name for nearly a decade, all while my real parents had probably bankrupted themselves searching for me. I grabbed my phone and typed David Lynch in Portland into Facebook. And there they were. David Chen's Facebook profile showed a man who'd aged far more than 9 years should allow. His once dark hair was now streaked with gray, deep lines etched around eyes that looked perpetually tired. But it was unmistakably the same person from the news footage, my father. His cover photo was a collage of pictures of me. Me as a baby. Me learning to walk. Me blowing out candles on what must have been my 7th birthday. And in the center, that same missing person poster, though this version was more faded, like it had been photocopied hundreds of times. I clicked on Lin Chen's profile next. My mother's page was a shrine to my disappearance. Nearly every post for the past 9 years was about me. Photos from search parties. Shared posts from missing children organizations. Annual remembrance posts on June 15th, the day I vanished. Her most recent post was from 2 weeks ago, *2865 days without our Maya. Still praying, still hoping, still believing she'll come home. If you're out there, baby girl, we love you more than all the stars in the sky. Happy early 17th birthday, wherever you are. Asterisk. My birthday. She'd remembered my birthday was coming up next week. Carol had planned a small celebration at church, nothing too elaborate, she always said, since traumatic anniversaries could be triggering for me. I scrolled deeper into Lynn's posts and found something that made my hands shake. A post from 6 months ago with a photo of a yellow sundress, the same one from the missing person poster. Asterisk found Maya's dress while going through old boxes today. David wanted to donate it years ago, but I couldn't let it go. Someday I'll see her wear yellow again. Someday I'll see her smile again. Maya's room is still exactly how she left it. Her art supplies on the desk, her books on the shelf, Peanut Jr., we bought him after Peanut disappeared with her, on her pillow. Come home, sweetheart. Please come home. Asterisk. My room. They'd kept my room for 9 years. I found the phone number from the original missing person poster and stared at it for 20 minutes before I had the courage to type it into my contacts. My thumb hovered over the call button. What would I even say? Hi, I'm your daughter who's been living 2 hours away this whole time while you've been searching the entire country for me. Instead, I opened a new browser tab and looked up Carol's employment history. She'd worked at Lincoln Elementary until 2016, a year after I disappeared. Then she'd taken a leave of absence for family care responsibilities and never returned. She'd been living off the GoFundMe donations, the church collections, and what I now realized were probably disability payments she was claiming for taking care of me. A soft knock on my bedroom door made me slam the laptop shut. Maya? You okay in there, honey? Carol's voice was gentle, concerned. I thought I heard you crying. I wiped my face, not realizing tears had been falling. I'm fine. Just stressed about the SATs. Oh, sweetheart, don't worry so much. You're going to do wonderfully. You're so smart and resilient, you've overcome so much already. There was genuine warmth in her voice. I'm so proud of the woman you're becoming despite everything that happened to you. Despite everything you did to me, I wanted to scream. Thanks, Carol. Love you too. The words tasted like poison. Sweet dreams, honey. Tomorrow's a new day. I waited until her footsteps faded before opening my laptop again. I had to be smart about this. Carol had fooled an entire community for 9 years. She'd convinced teachers, social workers, church members, and neighbors that she was a saint. If I accused her without proof, who would believe me? But I had proof now. Screenshots, saved pages, photos. And somewhere 2 hours north, I had parents who'd never stopped looking for me. I just had to figure out how to get to them without Carol realizing I knew the truth. The next morning, I watched Carol make my favorite breakfast, blueberry pancakes, and felt sick. She hummed softly while flipping them, occasionally glancing over to smile at me with what I'd always thought was genuine love. Now I couldn't tell what was real and what was performance. So the college counselor wants to meet with us next week, she said, sliding 3 perfect pancakes onto my plate. We should discuss your essays. I was thinking you could write about overcoming adversity, you know, your journey of healing. Admissions committees love those stories. My fork froze halfway to my mouth. She wanted me to write about trauma that never happened. To profit academically from the same lie she'd used to collect thousands of dollars. I was actually thinking about writing about art, I said carefully. How creativity helps people express themselves. Carol's smile flickered for just a second. Oh, honey, that's nice, but it's not very compelling. Admissions officers read hundreds of essays about hobbies. Your story is unique, a child who survived abuse and found hope through her guardian's love. That's scholarship material. Scholarship material. Of course. At school, I couldn't concentrate on anything. During lunch, I sat in the library and pulled up the missing person database on my phone. According to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, my case was still active. There was an age progression photo showing what I might look like at 17, it was startlingly accurate. But what made my breath catch was the case number, hashtag 2015-067891. Below it, a note dated just 3 months ago, case remains open. Recent tip led to renewed search efforts in Northern California. Parents continue active investigation with private detective. A private detective. My parents had hired a private detective. They were still actively searching for me right now, probably following false leads while I sat in Millbrook High's library just 127 miles away from them. I clicked on the tip hotline and stared at the number. One phone call could end this. But something held me back, maybe the fear that this could all be an elaborate mistake, or maybe just the sheer impossibility of unraveling 9 years of lies. Instead, I found myself looking up recent news from Portland. In February, there had been a small article in the Portland Tribune, Parents of Missing Girl Organize Annual Awareness Walk. The photo showed David and Lynch leading a group of maybe 30 people through downtown Portland, carrying signs with my face on them. The article was short, but one quote from my mother made my chest tight. Maya would be turning 17 next week. We know she's out there, growing into the amazing young woman we've always known she could be. We'll never give up hope that someone, somewhere, will help bring her home. 17 next week. My birthday was in 4 days, March 7th. Carol had asked Mrs. Patterson from church to bake a chocolate cake with strawberry frosting. My favorite, though I'd never actually told her it was my favorite. She just decided it was, like she decided so many things about my identity. I spent the rest of lunch creating a fake email account, missingmaya2015@gmail.com. My hands shook as I typed a message to the email address listed on the most recent missing person flyer. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Chin. Asterisk, I think I might be Maya. I had been living in Millbrook, Oregon with someone who told me she was my aunt and that you were abusive. I just found out this might not be true. I am scared and don't know what to do. Is there some way you can prove you are my parents? Asterisk. Maya. I stared at the message for 10 minutes before deleting it. It sounded crazy, even to me. How many false hopes had my parents endured over the years? How many cruel pranks or mistaken identities? But then I remembered my mother's Facebook post about my room, how they kept everything exactly the same. That wasn't the behavior of abusive parents. That was love. I rewrote the email 3 times before finally hitting send at 12:47 p.m. By the time school ended, there was a response waiting. Maya. Asterisk, we have dreamed of getting an email like this for 3,192 days. If this is really you, can you tell us about the scar on your left knee from when you fell off your scooter? What was your favorite bedtime story? What did you call your stuffed elephant? Asterisk. We love you beyond measure. Mom and Dad. I touched my left knee, feeling the small raised line I'd always assumed came from some childhood accident I couldn't remember. The scar that Carol said happened during my troubled time before she rescued me. And I typed back one word that I somehow knew was right. Asterisk peanut. Asterisk. The response came back in less than 10 minutes. Asterisk Maya, my precious girl. It's really you. We're crying so hard we can barely type. Your father is shaking. We've been waiting for this moment for 9 years, 4 months, and 21 days. Asterisk. Asterisk, can you call us? We understand if you're scared. We can meet wherever feels safe for you. We can drive to you tonight if you want. We just need to hear your voice. Asterisk. Love forever and always. Mom and Dad. 503-555-0847 inch. I screenshot the message and sat in my car outside school for 45 minutes, staring at those numbers. My real parents' phone number. The people who'd never stopped looking for me were 8 digits away. But when I finally worked up the courage to dial, panic hit me at the first ring. What if Carol came home early? What if someone at school saw me crying in the parking lot? What if this was all some elaborate mistake and I destroyed another family's hope? I hung up after 2 rings. My phone immediately buzzed with a text from the same number. Asterisk, was that you who just called? It's okay if you're scared. We can text until you're ready to talk. We're not going anywhere. We love you. Mom asterisk. The word mom made my chest hurt. I'd called Carol Aunt Carol for 9 years, never mom, even though she gently suggested it a few times. She said I had attachment issues from my trauma. Asterisk, it was me. I'm scared. The woman I live with told me you were drug addicts who hurt me. Asterisk. Asterisk, oh sweetheart, that's not true. We've never used drugs. Dad works for an accounting firm and I'm a nurse at OHSU. We have drug tests for our jobs. We loved you so much. We still do. Asterisk. Asterisk, can you prove it? I need to know for sure. Asterisk. 3 minutes later, a photo came through. It was me, maybe 6 years old, grinning toothlessly while sitting on a man's shoulders. We were at what looked like a zoo, and I was pointing excitedly at something off camera. The man had my same dark eyes and was laughing at whatever had captured my attention. Another photo, me and a woman with shoulder-length black hair, both of us covered in finger paint and laughing. The woman, my mother, had paint in her hair and on her cheek, but she was looking at me like I was the most wonderful thing in the world. Then a video. My breath caught as I watched 8-year-old me dancing in a living room I almost remembered. I was wearing that yellow sundress from the missing person poster, twirling around while a woman's voice, my mother's voice, laughed and cheered me on. Show Daddy your new dance move, Maya. Look, look. My own voice, higher and more carefree than I'd heard it in years. I'm a butterfly. The video was dated June 14, 2015. One day before I disappeared. I was crying so hard I could barely type. Asterisk, I remember that dress. Carol threw it away and said it was from before. She threw away Peanut too. Asterisk. Asterisk, we still have your other stuffed animals. And your art easel. And the picture you drew of our family the week before you were taken. Maya, where are you? Who is this woman? Asterisk. I told them about Carol, about Millbrook, about the GoFundMe and the church donations. I sent screenshots of her Facebook posts about her rescued niece and the fundraising pages. With each message, I watched 9 years of lies unravel. Asterisk Maya, listen carefully. You need to be very careful around this woman. She's committed kidnapping and fraud. We're going to call the FBI right now, but we need you to stay safe. Can you act normal until we can get to you? Asterisk. The FBI. The words made everything suddenly, terrifyingly real. Asterisk, my birthday is in 4 days. She's planning a party at church. Asterisk. Asterisk, we know, baby. We've celebrated your birthday every year, hoping you'd come home. This year you will. Asterisk. I was typing a response when I heard Carol's Honda Civic pulling into our driveway. Asterisk, she's home. I have to go. Asterisk. Asterisk, we love you, Maya. Be careful. We're coming. Asterisk. I deleted the message thread and shoved my phone into my backpack just as Carol knocked on my car window. She was holding a small wrapped box and wearing that bright smile that used to comfort me but now felt like a mask. There you are. I was wondering where you'd gotten to. She waited while I gathered my things, chattering about her day. I stopped by Miller's Jewelry downtown. Mrs. Miller had the sweetest suggestion for your birthday gift. Inside the house, she handed me the box with ceremony. I know your birthday isn't until Thursday, but I couldn't wait. Open it. The box contained a delicate silver locket engraved with Maya and Carol, forever family, and today's date. Inside was a tiny photo of us from last Christmas, both smiling at the camera. Do you love it? Carol's eyes were bright with anticipation. Mrs. Miller said it was perfect for commemorating how far we've come together. 10 years of being a family. 10 years. She was already revising history, adding an extra year to make her story sound better. It's beautiful, I managed, letting her fasten it around my neck. The metal felt cold against my skin. Thank you. I thought you could wear it to your birthday party on Saturday. Pastor Williams is going to say a special blessing about family and healing. The whole congregation is so excited to celebrate with us. Saturday. My birthday was Thursday, but she planned the party for Saturday. Just like she'd been planning my entire life around what worked best for her narrative. That evening, I helped Carol prepare dinner while she talked about college plans. She'd already filled out most of my FAFSA paperwork, listing herself as my legal guardian and marking my parents as deceased/unknown. I think we should apply for the Overcoming Adversity Scholarship through the state, she said, stirring pasta sauce. It's worth $15,000 annually for students who triumphed over childhood trauma. With your story, you'd be a shoo-in. What if they want documentation? I asked carefully. Like court records about my parents? Oh, honey, those records are sealed to protect your privacy. I have a letter from Dr. Peterson explaining your situation. That's all they need. Dr. Peterson, the therapist Carol had taken me to for 3 years after I'd first arrived. He diagnosed me with selective amnesia and attachment disorder based entirely on Carol's account of my background. I'd stopped seeing him when I turned 14 because Carol said I'd progressed beautifully and didn't need therapy anymore. Now I wondered what lies she'd told him, what false medical history she'd created for me. After dinner, I volunteered to do dishes while Carol graded papers at the kitchen table. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, *, this is Dad. FBI is involved now. Agent Sarah Rodriguez will contact you tomorrow at school. Don't delete this number. We're driving to Millbrook tonight and staying at the Hampton Inn. Room 237. If you need us, come find us. We love you so much, sweetheart. *. I memorized the message and deleted it immediately. Maya? Carol's voice made me jump. You seem distracted tonight. Everything okay? I turned around, sudsy plate still in my hands. She was watching me with that concerned expression I'd seen thousands of times, head tilted slightly, pen paused over her papers. Just thinking about the SATs next month, I said. I'm nervous. You're going to do wonderfully. You know, Mrs. Henderson called earlier. She wanted to contribute an extra $200 to your college fund for your birthday. This community has been such a blessing in our lives. Our lives. She genuinely seemed to believe her own story now, like she'd told the lie so many times it had become truth in her mind. Carol? The name felt strange without "and" in front of it. Do you ever wonder if my parents are still looking for me? Her pen stopped moving. What brought that on? Sometimes I think I remember them. Not bad things. Good things. Carol set down her pen and came over to me, placing gentle hands on my shoulders. Oh, sweetheart, we talked about this. Those aren't real memories, they're your mind's way of protecting you from painful truth. Dr. Peterson explained how trauma can create false happy memories. But what if? Maya. Her voice was firm now, though still kind. Your parents were very sick people who couldn't take care of you. The important thing is that you're safe now, and loved, and have a bright future ahead of you. Sometimes we have to accept that the past is better left buried. She hugged me, and I smelled her familiar lavender perfume mixed with the chalk dust that always clung to her clothes. For a moment, I almost wavered. This was the woman who'd taught me to drive, who'd stayed up all night when I had pneumonia, who'd cheered louder than anyone at my school plays. But then I felt the locket against my throat, forever family, with today's date, like she was marking her territory, and I remembered my real mother's voice in that video. Show Daddy your new dance move, Maya. I love you too, I whispered into Carol's shoulder, and hated that part of me meant it. That night I lay awake until 2:17 a.m., staring at the ceiling and listening to Carol's soft snoring down the hall. The locket felt heavy against my chest, a golden chain marking me as her property. Every few minutes I'd touch my phone, knowing my real parents were less than 5 miles away at the Hampton Inn, probably lying awake too. At 3:43 a.m., my phone vibrated with a text from another unknown number, * Maya, this is Agent Rodriguez with the FBI. I'll be at Millbrook High tomorrow at 11:30 a.m., during your lunch period. I'll be in the guidance counselor's office. Tell them you need to discuss college applications. Don't let anyone know the real reason. Your safety is our priority. *. I deleted the message immediately, but my hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. The FBI. This was really happening. The next morning, Carol was unusually chatty over breakfast, talking about the birthday party preparations with an energy that felt manic. I invited the Hendersons, the Pattersons, and the whole Sunday school class, she said, flipping through a small notebook. Pastor Williams suggested we make it a celebration of your journey. Maybe you could give a little speech about how far you've come? A speech? My coffee suddenly tasted like ash. Nothing formal. Just a few words about healing, about second chances. The congregation loves hearing your story, and it might help other families going through difficult times. She looked up from her notebook, eyes bright. Mrs. Patterson thinks Channel 12 might even want to do a feature story. Local girl overcomes trauma thanks to loving guardian, can you imagine? Channel 12. The same station that had covered my disappearance 9 years ago. I don't really like being the center of attention, I said carefully. Oh, honey, you're being modest. You have such a powerful testimony. Think about all the good it could do, raising awareness about child abuse, showing people the difference one caring adult can make. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Besides, it might help with college applications. Universities love students with compelling personal stories. There it was again, my trauma as her commodity. At school, I couldn't focus on anything. During second period chemistry, I kept watching the clock, counting down to 11:30. My lab partner, Jessica, asked if I was feeling okay because I'd mixed the wrong solutions 3 times. Just tired, I mumbled, but she looked unconvinced. At 11:25, I asked for a bathroom pass and walked to the guidance office instead. Mrs. Chen, and wasn't that ironic, looked up from her computer when I knocked. Maya. What can I do for you? I wanted to discuss some college application questions, I said, the lie coming easier than it should have. Of course. Though I should mention, there's someone here who needs to speak with you first. She's been waiting. Mrs. Chen gestured toward her inner office. Something about a scholarship opportunity. My heart hammered as I opened the door. A woman in a navy blazer stood up from the chair across from Mrs. Chen's desk. She was younger than I'd expected, maybe mid-30s, with kind eyes and a serious expression. Maya? I'm Agent Rodriguez. Please, sit down. I closed the door behind me and sank into the chair, my legs suddenly weak. I know this is overwhelming, she said gently. But I need you to know that your parents never stopped looking for you. We've been building a case against Carol Winters for the past 18 hours, and we have enough evidence to arrest her today. Today? The word came out as a squeak. We've traced the financial fraud, confirmed her employment timeline, and verified your parents' identities. But Maya, we need your help with something important. Agent Rodriguez leaned forward. We want to conduct a controlled reunion, bring your parents here, to the school, so we can arrest Carol when she comes to pick you up. It would help our case to catch her in the act of perpetuating the deception. I thought about Carol at home right now, probably calling the bakery to confirm my birthday cake order, genuinely excited about celebrating what she believed was our family milestone. What happens to her? I whispered. She'll be charged with kidnapping, fraud, and child endangerment. Given the duration and scope of her crimes, she's looking at significant prison time. Prison time. The woman who taught me to ride a bike and held my hair when I was sick was going to prison because of me. Agent Rodriguez must have seen something in my face because her voice became gentler. Maya, I know this is complicated. Stockholm Syndrome is real, and it's normal to have conflicting feelings about someone who's controlled your life for 9 years. But what she did to you, and to your parents, was a serious crime. Through the office window, I could see students walking to lunch, laughing and complaining about tests and weekend plans. Normal teenage problems that felt impossibly distant from my reality. Are my parents really here? I asked. Agent Rodriguez smiled for the first time. They're in a hotel conference room 2 blocks away with 2 more agents, waiting for my call. They'd been awake for 36 hours straight, afraid this might be another false lead. Another false lead. How many times had they gotten their hopes up over the years? Maya, I need an answer. Are you ready to come home? I stared at Agent Rodriguez, my mind spinning. What if she runs? What if she realizes something's wrong and just disappears? We have agents watching her house right now. She's not going anywhere. Agent Rodriguez pulled out her phone. But Maya, we need to move quickly. The longer we wait, the more time she has to destroy evidence or create new lies. My hands were shaking. I need to understand something. How did she even get away with this? Didn't anyone question her story? We're still investigating that. But from what we've learned so far, Carol was very careful. She moved you to a small town where she had no history, created false documentation claiming to be your aunt, and built a network of supporters who never thought to question her version of events. Agent Rodriguez's jaw tightened. She's been collecting approximately $2,000 per month in various donations and aid programs, all based on her story about rescuing you. $2,000 a month. For 9 years. I did the math quickly, over $200,000 that she'd made from lying about me. There's something else, Agent Rodriguez continued. We found evidence that she's done this before. My blood went cold. What do you mean? In 1998, a 6-year-old girl named Emma Sullivan disappeared from a playground in Sacramento. 3 years later, the case went cold. We found old financial records showing Carol received aid for caring for a troubled niece during that exact time period, before the payments suddenly stopped in 2002. Where's Emma now? Agent Rodriguez's silence told me everything. Oh God. I pressed my hands to my mouth. She killed her? We don't know yet. But Maya, this is why we need to act today. You're probably not her first victim, and if we don't stop her now, you might not be her last. The room felt like it was spinning. I thought about Carol humming while making my breakfast this morning, carefully writing names in her little party planning notebook. Had she done the same thing with Emma? Planned birthday parties and collected sympathy while a 6-year-old's parents searched desperately for their missing daughter? I need to see them, I whispered. My parents. Before we do this, I need to see them. Agent Rodriguez nodded and made a quick phone call. David? We're bringing her to you now. Yes, she's safe. 10 minutes. The walk to the hotel felt surreal. Agent Rodriguez had signed me out of school, telling the secretary I was feeling ill and needed to go home. It wasn't exactly a lie. I felt like I might throw up at any second. The Hampton Inn was exactly where my father had said it would be. Agent Rodriguez led me through the lobby to a conference room on the 2nd floor. She paused with her hand on the door handle. Take all the time you need, she said. But remember, Carol expects you home by 4 p.m. If you're not there, she might get suspicious. She opened the door, and suddenly I was looking at 2 people I'd seen only in photographs and video clips for the past 24 hours. My parents. My mother was smaller than I'd imagined, with streaks of gray in her black hair that hadn't been there in the old photos. My father looked exhausted, still wearing what appeared to be yesterday's clothes. They both stood frozen by the window, as if moving might make me disappear again. Maya? My mother's voice was barely a whisper. And then something broke inside me, some wall I'd built without realizing it. I ran to her, and she caught me in arms that felt like home in a way Carol's never had. She smelled like vanilla and something distinctly motherly that I suddenly remembered from dreams I thought were just imagination. My baby, she sobbed into my hair. My sweet baby girl. We never stopped looking. We never gave up. My father joined the hug, and for the first time in 9 years, I felt completely safe. We stood there crying for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes before Agent Rodriguez gently cleared her throat. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we need to discuss the plan. We sat around the small conference table, and I got my first real look at my parents up close. My mother kept reaching out to touch my hand, like she needed to confirm I was real. My father had the same nervous habit I did, tapping his fingers when he was anxious. You look so much like your grandmother, my mother said, stroking my hair. She passed away 3 years ago, but she never stopped believing you'd come home. She left you her piano. A grandmother. A piano. A whole family history I'd been stolen from. Maya, we need to know, has Carol ever hurt you? My father asked gently. Physically, I mean? I shook my head. No, never. She's actually been kind. That's what makes this so confusing. My parents exchanged a look that I couldn't read. Sweetheart, my mother said carefully, kind kidnappers are still kidnappers. She took you from people who loved you and lied to you for 9 years. That's not kindness, that's manipulation. Agent Rodriguez leaned forward. Maya, we've been monitoring Carol's phone and computer since yesterday. This morning she called Channel 12 about doing a feature story on your birthday. She also contacted a literary agent about writing a book called Saving Maya, A Guardian's Journey. A book. She wanted to write a book about kidnapping me. There's more, Agent Rodriguez continued. She's been in contact with 3 other single women online, giving them advice about taking in troubled children and building community support. We think she might be coaching others to do what she did. My stomach lurched. She's teaching people how to kidnap kids? It appears so. Which is why we need to arrest her today, before she can warn anyone or destroy evidence. Agent Rodriguez checked her watch. It's 12:47 p.m. School ends at 3:15. We want you to go back to class, act completely normal, then call Carol at 3:30 and tell her you're staying after school for an hour to work on a project. That gives us time to position units around the school. What if she gets suspicious? Carol always knows when something's wrong with me. My mother squeezed my hand. You're stronger than you know, baby. You've survived 9 years of lies. You can handle one more afternoon. But what if something goes wrong? What if she figures it out and runs? The thought of Carol escaping, of never getting answers about Emma Sullivan or how many other families she might have destroyed, made me feel sick. Maya. My father's voice was steady, controlled. Your mother and I have waited 3,193 days to hold you again. We followed hundreds of false leads, spent our life savings on private investigators, and never stopped believing this day would come. We're not going to lose you again. I promise. Agent Rodriguez stood up. We need to get you back to school. Remember, completely normal. Go to your afternoon classes, talk to your friends, don't act any differently than you would on a regular Wednesday. As we prepared to leave, my mother pulled me aside. Maya, there's something I need you to know. When you disappeared, you had a stuffed elephant named Peanut, but you also had a little purple journal where you wrote stories and drew pictures. If Carol still has it, if it's hidden somewhere in her house. The attic, I whispered. There are boxes in the attic she never lets me go through. She says they're just old teaching supplies. That journal might have evidence of your real memories, your real life with us. If you can safely look for it. No. Agent Rodriguez's voice was sharp. Absolutely not. Maya, you don't go looking for anything. You don't change your routine at all. We can't risk her becoming suspicious. But as we walked back toward the school, I couldn't stop thinking about that purple journal. What had 8-year-old me written about my real parents? What memories had Carol been so desperate to erase? The afternoon dragged by like torture. In English class, Mrs. Peterson assigned us to write about a moment that changed your perspective, and I almost laughed at the cruel irony. In AP History, we discussed the Underground Railroad, and I couldn't stop thinking about how enslaved people had to pretend everything was normal while planning their escapes. At 3:30 sharp, I called Carol from the school parking lot. Hi, it's me. Mr. Davidson asked if I could stay after to help set up for the art show next week. Is that okay? Of course, sweetheart. What time should I pick you up? Maybe 4:30? I can walk home if it's easier. Don't be silly. I'll be there at 4:30 on the dot. Love you, Maya. Love you too. The lie burned in my throat, but I forced myself to sound normal. Through the phone, I could hear her humming, probably still planning my birthday party, still believing we'd be celebrating together on Saturday. At exactly 4:28 p.m., I positioned myself by the main entrance where Agent Rodriguez had instructed me to wait. My hands were sweating so badly I could barely grip my backpack straps. 3 unmarked cars were parked across the street, and I spotted at least 2 agents posing as maintenance workers near the flagpole. Carol's Honda pulled into the pickup lane right on schedule, and my heart nearly stopped. She was wearing the blue cardigan I'd given her for Christmas, and she waved cheerfully when she saw me. Through the windshield, I could see a small gift bag on the passenger seat, probably another early birthday surprise. How was your day, honey? She asked as I got in the car. I stopped by the grocery store and got ingredients for your favorite cookies. I thought we could bake them tonight for the party. My favorite cookies. Snickerdoodles, which I'd never actually told her I liked. She just decided that's what I preferred, the same way she decided everything else about my identity. That sounds great, I managed, buckling my seatbelt with shaking hands. As we pulled out of the school parking lot, I saw Agent Rodriguez walking toward the building in my peripheral vision. This was it. In a few minutes, Carol would be in handcuffs, and 9 years of lies would finally be over. But as we drove through downtown Millbrook, past the library where Carol had taken me for story time when I was 9, past the park where she'd taught me to throw a frisbee, past Miller's Jewelry where she'd bought my locket, I felt an unexpected wave of grief. This woman had stolen my childhood, collected money off my fake trauma, and possibly killed another little girl. But she'd also been the only mother I'd known for more than half my life. She'd stayed up with me during thunderstorms, helped with homework, cheered at my school plays. How was I supposed to reconcile those two truths? Maya? You're awfully quiet. Carol glanced at me with concern. Are you nervous about the SATs? You know you don't have anything to worry about. Just thinking about stuff. Well, think happy thoughts. Your birthday week should be filled with joy. She reached over and patted my knee. I have a surprise for you when we get home. Something I've been saving for a very special occasion. My blood went cold. Agent Rodriguez had said they wanted to catch Carol at the school, but we'd already left. What if the plan had changed? What if something had gone wrong? I pulled out my phone to check for messages, but Carol's hand shot out and gently pushed it back down. No phones during family time, remember? That's always been our rule. But we'd never had that rule before. And suddenly, I realized Carol was driving past our street. Carol? You missed our turn. My voice came out higher than I intended. She glanced at me with that same gentle smile, but something in her eyes had shifted. I know, sweetheart. We're making a quick stop first. Where are we going? I tried to keep my tone casual, but my heart was hammering against my ribs. Just a little detour. I told you I had a surprise. Carol's hands tightened on the steering wheel as she turned onto Highway 18, heading east toward the mountains. Away from town. Away from the FBI agents who were probably realizing right now that their plan had fallen apart. I watched the familiar buildings of Millbrook disappear in the rearview mirror and felt panic rising in my chest. Carol, I have homework. Can we do this tomorrow? Oh honey, after today, homework won't matter anymore. She reached over and patted my knee again, and this time her touch felt possessive, dangerous. We're going to start fresh somewhere new. Just the two of us, like it's always been. Start fresh. My mouth went dry as I understood what she was saying. She knew. Somehow, Carol knew that I'd discovered the truth. I don't understand, I said weakly. Of course you do, Maya. You're such a smart girl, too smart for your own good sometimes. Carol's voice remained cheerful, but there was steel underneath now. Did you really think I wouldn't notice you acting strange these past few days? The secret of phone calls, the way you've been watching me when you think I'm not looking? I fumbled for my phone again, but she shook her head. I turned off your service this morning, sweetheart. And I've been monitoring your computer usage for years. Did you forget I used to be a teacher? I know about your little email account. Missing Maya 2015, very creative. My blood turned to ice. She'd known since yesterday. While I was agonizing over how to act normal, she'd been planning this. The FBI called the school around noon, Carol continued conversationally. They told Mrs. Chen they needed to speak with you about a scholarship opportunity. Such a transparent lie. I picked you up early and saw you walking into that hotel with a woman in a business suit. You followed me? I protect what's mine, Maya. I always have. She glanced at me, and for the first time in 9 years, I saw the real Carol beneath the gentle guardian mask. Your biological parents filled your head with lies, didn't they? Made you think I was the villain in this story? You kidnapped me. The words tumbled out before I could stop them. You took me from my family and lied about everything. Carol sighed like I was a disappointing student who'd failed a test. I saved you, Maya. Your parents were going to ruin you, filling your head with foolish dreams about art school, letting you run wild in parks without proper supervision. You needed structure, guidance, a mother who actually cared about your future. They loved me. They indulged you. There's a difference. Carol's voice hardened. Do you think it's love to let an 8-year-old wander around unsupervised? To encourage impossible dreams instead of practical goals? I gave you stability, education, a community that cares about you. I stared at her, seeing clearly for the first time how she'd rationalized everything. In her mind, she really was the hero of this story. What about Emma Sullivan? I whispered. Carol's hands went white-knuckle tight on the steering wheel. For a long moment, she didn't speak. Then, Emma was a learning experience. I was younger then, less prepared. I made mistakes. You killed her. Emma died in an accident. Carol's voice was flat now, all pretense of warmth gone. She tried to run away and fell down the basement stairs. It was tragic, but it taught me valuable lessons about proper security measures. Security measures. She was talking about a 6-year-old's death like it was a failed business venture. The road stretched ahead of us, winding deeper into the Cascade Mountains as Carol drove with the calm efficiency of someone who'd planned this route carefully. My phone sat useless in my lap, no signal, no way to contact Agent Rodriguez or my parents. The gift bag on the passenger seat had spilled open during a sharp turn, revealing a bottle of children's Benadryl and what looked like a fake passport. How long have you been planning this? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Since the moment you started asking questions about your real memories. Carol glanced at the rearview mirror, checking for cars that weren't there. We hadn't passed another vehicle in 20 minutes. I have contingency plans, Maya. I've had them since Emma. Emma Sullivan. The 6-year-old who died trying to escape. I pressed my back against the passenger door, as far from Carol as I could get in the confined space. The FBI knows about Emma now, I said. They're investigating her case. Let them investigate. Emma Sullivan's body was cremated 20 years ago after she died in a house fire in Nevada. Amazing how easy it is to create a paper trail when you know which documents to forge. Carol's matter-of-fact tone made my skin crawl. I learned from my mistakes with her. With you, I was much more careful. The missing person posters. We'll lead them in circles for years. Do you know how many false Maya Chen sightings there have been since 2015? 47. Your parents have chased leads to 12 different states. She smiled at the memory. I even called in a few tips myself over the years. Anonymous sightings in Florida, Texas, California. Kept them busy while we built our life here. The casual cruelty of it hit me like a physical blow. While my parents were bankrupting themselves following false leads, Carol had been orchestrating their wild goose chase for her own amusement. Where are we going? Canada, initially. I have friends there, women who understand the importance of protecting children from inadequate parents. There's a small community in British Columbia where people don't ask too many questions about past lives. Carol turned onto an even smaller road, barely more than a logging trail. We'll lay low for a few months, then establish new identities. You'll be my daughter this time, not my niece. Amanda Winters, I've always liked that name. Amanda. She wanted to erase Maya entirely, the same way she'd probably erased Emma Sullivan. I'll never answer to that name. And I'll tell everyone who I really am. Oh, sweetheart. Carol's laugh was genuinely fond. You said the same thing 9 years ago. Do you remember? For the first 3 months, you insisted your name was Maya Chen and that you wanted to go home to mommy and daddy. You cried every night for your stuffed elephant. I did remember, vaguely. Fragments of being small and scared and confused, of Carol patiently explaining that my memories were confused because of trauma. But children are wonderfully adaptable, Carol continued. With the right guidance, they learn to embrace their new reality. You did it once, you'll do it again. I'm 17 now, not 8. It's different. Age is just a number, Maya. Isolation is what matters. Take someone away from everything familiar, cut off their support systems, and they become remarkably compliant. It's basic psychology. The car slowed as we approached a rustic cabin nestled between towering pine trees. Solar panels on the roof, a well-maintained generator humming beside the porch, supplies clearly stockpiled for a long stay. This wasn't a spontaneous escape. Carol had been preparing this place for months, maybe years. Home sweet temporary home, she said, cutting the engine. I've been stalking this place since she started high school. Call it insurance. Through the windshield, I could see thick curtains covering every window, a heavy padlock on the door, and no other cabins visible in any direction. We were completely alone, miles from civilization, with no way to call for help. Carol pocketed the car keys and picked up the gift bag. Now, Maya, I need you to be very careful about your next choices. I love you dearly, but I won't hesitate to use whatever methods are necessary to keep you safe. Emma taught me that sometimes tough love requires actual toughness. I stared at the cabin through the windshield, my mind racing through possible escape routes. The trees were too thick to run through easily, and Carol clearly knew this area better than I did. But I had one advantage, she still thought of me as the compliant child she'd molded for 9 years. I need to use the bathroom, I said, trying to sound defeated rather than calculating. Carol studied my face for a moment. Of course, sweetheart. There's a composting toilet inside, and I've stocked plenty of supplies. She grabbed the Benadryl from the gift bag. But first, you look stressed. This will help you relax during the transition. I don't want any medicine. Maya. Her voice carried a warning now. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. 2 tablets, and then we'll get you settled inside. I looked at the pink pills in her palm, remembering how she'd given me medicine that made me sleepy during those first confusing weeks 9 years ago. How many times had she drugged me back then to keep me compliant? What if I say no? Carol sighed and reached under her seat, pulling out a small taser. Then I'll use this, and you'll wake up inside anyway. But I'd rather not. Tasers can be dangerous, and I'd hate for you to get hurt because you're being stubborn. The casual way she said it, like she was discussing different brands of cereal, made my blood run cold. This was the real Carol, the woman who'd killed Emma Sullivan and spent years perfecting her kidnapping techniques. I took the pills and dry swallowed them, but managed to tuck them under my tongue. There. Happy? Very good. Carol smiled and got out of the car, coming around to my side. Now let's go inside. I want to show you how comfortable I've made this place. The cabin was larger than it looked from outside, one main room with a kitchenette, a loft bedroom accessible by ladder, and a small bathroom tucked into the back corner. Canned goods lined makeshift shelves, and a propane camping stove sat ready on the counter. Carol had clearly planned for a long stay. I've been working on this for 3 years, she said proudly, lighting a kerosene lamp. Solar power for basics, but we'll keep a low profile. No internet, no phones, no contact with the outside world until things calm down. I pretended to stumble slightly, letting her think the Benadryl was taking effect while I surveyed the space. The windows were not only curtained but boarded up from the inside. The door had 3 separate locks, including a heavy deadbolt. And sitting on the kitchen table was a manila folder labeled Amanda Winter's birth certificate, social security, school records. You really have done this before, I said, my words slightly slurred as I spit the dissolved pills into my palm when Carol wasn't looking. Practice makes perfect. With Emma, I was reactive, always scrambling to stay ahead of investigators. With you, I've been proactive. Every possible scenario planned for. Carol moved around the cabin with practiced efficiency, checking locks and adjusting curtains. The FBI will search for Maya Chin, who disappeared from Millbrook. But Maya Chin died in a car accident 6 months from now in Northern California. Amanda Winters will be born around the same time in British Columbia. You're going to fake my death? I'm going to perfect it. Dental records, DNA evidence, grieving guardian interviews with local news. By Christmas, there won't be a Maya Chin to search for anymore. The methodical way she described erasing my existence made me feel sick. But it also told me something important. She needed time to execute this plan. Which meant she needed me alive and cooperative for at least 6 months. I swayed on my feet, letting Carol catch my elbow. I feel dizzy. That's normal, sweetheart. Why don't you lie down on the couch? I'll make us some soup for dinner. Carol guided me to an old sofa covered with hand-stitched quilts. When you wake up tomorrow, you'll start to see this differently. A new adventure for both of us. I curled up on the couch, closing my eyes but keeping my breathing shallow and alert. Through my lashes, I watched Carol begin preparing food, humming softly like she used to when making my school lunches. The cognitive dissonance was staggering. She genuinely believed she was taking care of me. 20 minutes later, Carol's phone chimed with a text message. She glanced at the screen and smiled. Well, that's interesting. Agent Rodriguez just sent out an Amber Alert for Maya Chin. Last seen leaving Millbrook High School with her guardian at 4:30 p.m. Carol showed me the phone screen, though she thought I was unconscious. They have our license plate number and everything. Good thing we switched cars. Switched cars? I risked opening my eyes slightly and saw through the window that Carol's Honda was gone. In its place sat a faded blue pickup truck I'd never seen before. I've had the truck parked here for 2 years, Carol continued, speaking to my supposedly sleeping form. The Honda is currently sitting in a long-term parking garage in Seattle with a timer device that will trigger the car alarm at midnight. By the time police find it, we'll be across the border. My heart sank. Agent Rodriguez and my parents were probably following a false trail right now, racing toward Seattle while Carol and I sat in an untraceable cabin 50 miles in the opposite direction. But as Carol continued preparing dinner, I noticed something she'd missed. The manila folder on the table had slipped open, revealing not just Amanda Winter's fake documents but something else, a handwritten list titled Future Prospects with 3 names, ages, and locations. 3 other children Carol was apparently targeting. One entry made my blood freeze. Sophie Martinez, age 7, Portland. Parents work late shifts, walks home alone from school. Opportunity window, 3:15 to 3:45 p.m. daily. She wasn't planning to stop with me. Carol was already scouting her next victim. I waited until Carol's breathing settled into the deep rhythm of sleep before carefully sliding off the couch. The kerosene lamp had burned down to a faint glow, casting dancing shadows across the cabin walls. My phone was still dead, but I'd spotted an old landline telephone on a shelf behind the kitchen counter. Carol probably thought the phone lines had been disconnected, but the little green light on the base station suggested otherwise. Moving as silently as possible, I crept across the creaking floorboards toward the kitchen. Carol stirred in the loft bed above me, and I froze for 30 seconds before continuing. The manila folder lay open on the table, and I carefully photographed each page with Carol's own phone, which she'd left charging on the counter. Amanda Winter's birth certificate looked official enough to fool anyone who didn't examine it closely. But it was the future prospects list that made my hands shake as I took pictures. 3 little girls, complete with home addresses, daily schedules, and detailed notes about their families' routines. Asterisk Emma Rodriguez, age 6, Salem. Single mother works double shifts at hospital. Child stays with elderly neighbor who naps frequently. Asterisk. Asterisk Lily Park, age 9, Eugene. Parents recently divorced, custody exchanges every Tuesday at school. Confusion about pickup times creates opportunities. Asterisk. Asterisk Sophie Martinez, age 7, Portland. Parents work late shifts, walks home alone from school. Opportunity window, 3:15 to 3:45 p.m. daily. Asterisk. Each entry included photographs, school pictures Carol had somehow obtained, surveillance photos of the children walking alone, maps of their neighborhoods with escape routes marked in red ink. This wasn't just planning. This was active stalking. The landline phone sat just 6 feet away, but when I lifted the receiver, there was no dial tone. Carol had been more thorough than I'd hoped. I was about to put it back when I noticed something. The phone cord had been unplugged from the wall jack, not disconnected by the phone company. Working as quietly as possible, I crawled behind the counter and plugged it back in. The dial tone hummed softly in my ear, and I nearly cried with relief. I dialed 911, covering my mouth with my free hand to muffle any sound. 911, what's your emergency? The operator's voice was barely a whisper through the earpiece I held away from my head. This is Maya Chan, I breathed. I'm the missing girl from the Amber Alert. I'm being held in a cabin about 40 miles east of Millbrook on Old Forest Service Road 47. The woman who took me is Carol Winters, and she has plans to kidnap more children. Can you repeat your location? I gave her every detail I could remember from our drive, the logging road turnoff, the solar panels on the cabin roof, the blue pickup truck. The operator kept me on the line while dispatching units, and I used those precious minutes to relay the information from Carol's list. Ma'am, there are 3 other children in immediate danger. She has their addresses, their schedules, their photographs. Please warn their families. We're contacting local police departments now. Maya, are you injured? Are you in immediate danger? I glanced toward the loft where Carol continued sleeping. Not right now, but she killed another girl 20 years ago. Emma Sullivan. And she's planning to fake my death in 6 months. Units are en route. Estimated arrival time is 18 minutes. Can you stay hidden until then? 18 minutes felt like a lifetime, but I managed to whisper, yes. I was about to hang up when Carol's voice drifted down from the loft. Maya? Are you feeling better, sweetheart? I thought I heard voices. The phone slipped from my suddenly numb fingers, clattering against the counter before I could catch it. In the dead silence that followed, I heard Carol's feet hitting the floor above me, then the creak of a ladder as she climbed down. Well, she said, surveying the scene, me crouched behind the counter with the phone receiver in my hand, her manila folder spread open, her phone obviously moved from where she'd left it. This is disappointing, Maya. And here I thought we were making such good progress. You were always too clever for your own good, Carol said, stepping off the ladder with that same gentle smile that had fooled me for 9 years. In her hand was the taser, and this time she wasn't bluffing. Carol, please. 18 minutes, you said? Well, that gives us just enough time to relocate. She gestured toward the back door with the taser. There's another cabin 2 miles deeper in the forest. No phone lines, no access roads. We'll wait there until the excitement dies down. Through the front windows, I could see the first hints of dawn breaking through the trees. Help was coming, but 18 minutes might as well have been 18 hours if she moved me to another location. The police will keep searching, I said, not moving from behind the counter. My parents will never stop looking. Your parents. Carol's laugh was bitter now, all pretense of maternal warmth gone. Do you want to know the truth about your precious parents, Maya? I didn't just randomly select you from that playground. My blood went cold. What do you mean? I'd been watching your family for months. Your mother was my student teacher at Lincoln Elementary in 2014. Sweet, naive Lin Chen who talked constantly about her brilliant daughter Maya. How artistic you were, how independent, how you loved spending time alone at the park making up stories. The room spun around me. You knew my mom? She showed me pictures of you constantly. Invited me to your art show at school, your birthday party at the park. I watched you, Maya. I saw how your parents let you run wild, filling your head with dreams instead of discipline. Carol's voice took on that teacher tone she used when explaining difficult concepts. Lynn even told me your family's schedule, how you went to the park every Tuesday while she ran errands. She made it so easy. My mother had trusted Carol. Had worked with her, shared photos of me, never knowing she was handing over intelligence to a predator. That's why you moved to Millbrook afterward. In case she recognized you. Small towns are perfect for fresh starts. By the time I enrolled you in school here, I was just another caring guardian who'd stepped up in a crisis. Carol stepped closer, forcing me to back toward the rear door. Now move, Maya. We've wasted enough time on this trip down memory lane. I gripped the phone receiver tighter, thinking desperately. 18 minutes had become maybe 15 now, and once she got me to that second cabin, it would all be over. The FBI has the list, I said suddenly. Sophie Martinez, Emma Rodriguez, Lily Park. I already told them about your next targets. Carol's face went white. You little. That's when I heard it, the distant rumble of engines coming up the access road. Not one car, but several. Carol heard it too, her head snapping toward the front windows. Impossible. It hasn't been 18 minutes. I called while you were preparing the cabin yesterday, I lied, backing toward the door she wanted me to go through. When you thought I was napping. Agent Rodriguez has been tracking your phone's GPS all night. It wasn't true, but Carol's eyes went wild with panic. She lunged toward the front window to look out, and I ran, not toward the back door where she expected, but toward the front of the cabin. Maya. Carol spun around, raising the taser, but I was already at the front door, fumbling with the locks. The first deadbolt turned just as Carol reached me. The second lock stuck, and I felt the taser's metal prongs brush against my shoulder. But then the third lock clicked open, and I threw myself through the door just as the first FBI vehicle came around the final bend in the road. Here. I screamed, waving my arms as I stumbled into the clearing. She's inside. She has a taser. The next few minutes were a blur of shouting agents, Carol being dragged from the cabin in handcuffs, and paramedics checking me for injuries. Through it all, I clutched Carol's phone with the photos of her target list, making sure Agent Rodriguez got every piece of evidence. Maya. I looked up to see my parents running toward me from the second FBI vehicle, and this time when they wrapped me in their arms, I knew I was really going home. 3 weeks later, I sat in my real bedroom for the first time in 9 years, the room my parents had kept exactly as I'd left it. Peanut Jr. sat on my pillow, my art supplies waited on the desk, and my purple journal lay open in my lap. I'd found it in Carol's attic, hidden beneath boxes of fake documents for at least 6 other identities she'd created over the years. 8-year-old me had written about my parents with the absolute certainty of a loved child. Asterisk, Mama makes the best pancakes and Daddy reads funny voices for all the characters and I love them more than the whole universe. Asterisk. Carol received 47 years in prison for kidnapping, fraud, and the murder of Emma Sullivan. The 3 families on her target list sent flowers thanking me for saving their daughters. And my mother, who'd blamed herself for trusting Carol 20 years ago, finally stopped crying long enough to help me plan my real 18th birthday party. I was home. Finally, completely, home.